What is going on, everybody? My name is Nico and welcome back to another competitive Pokemon video. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to team build in VGC 2022, also known as Series 12 in Sword and Shield, because that is our current format up until August, and it is, a topic of conversation right now simply because of the fact that they are having these international challenges and you are able to compete for the shiny Galarian legendary birds, which is pretty cool because they were previously shiny locked, and a lot of people will be partaking in these competitions. And if you maybe wanted to get into competitive and start actually playing the game rather than just taking baby Pokemon into these tournaments, this is a video for you. So if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more Pokemon content from me in the future. But let's get into it. So this is a very interesting format because it is a double restricted format. You're able to use 2 box legendary Pokemon in your team, and there's a lot going on because of that. I will argue this is one of the worst formats, at least in my opinion, simply because it lacks a lot of creativity, because you are seeing a lot of the same Pokemon over and over. A lot of restricteds just aren't good in competitive play, but then also at the same time some are just unbelievably powerful. For example, if you look at something like Zacian getting a 60% use rate right now, Kyogre getting almost a 50% use rate. Keep looking here, Calyrex is the next restricted, so like just that alone you're looking at like Kyogre, Zacian most of the time. Scroll down, you have Calyrex, Groudon, you have Veltal. So you're going to see a lot of the same Pokemon over and over and over because of just the nature of this format, and it makes team building kind of interesting. It just depends on the route you want to go, whether or not you want to use Zacian, really, is what a lot of it comes down to, but then ultimately which Pokemon to bring as well. So I kind of wanted to break it all down. Now, the first thing that I highly recommend you do in terms of team building in this particular format is pick 2 Pokemon that you want to be your Dynamax candidates. Obviously, you can Dynamax any Pokemon on the team depending on the nature of the battle, how the battle's going. There are some instances where I'm running an Incineroar, and I will Dynamax it in certain instances, simply because it's best for that end game scenario. If I have, for example, done a battle, we get to the last couple Pokemon, and they throw out Calyrex Shadow Rider, and I'm very worried about, being able to finish up the battle, I will Dynamax Incineroar because I can take Astral Barrages left and right with this Pokemon, and then Max Darkness into that slot and be able to do significant work with Incineroar as a Dynamax candidate. So it's not always just about, Dynamaxing the same Pokemon every single game, but also, being able to have a variety of Pokemon that will work under those circumstances. But most of the time you're going to be Dynamaxing the same Pokemon each game because they're just the best in that particular slot. So for example, if you look at the teams that I've been using quite a bit here, I have this team right here, which I will have a future video covering in depth. But my main Dynamax options are my Solgaleo and my Palkia, with Pokemon that are built around it to kind of build that Pokemon up. The rest of this team is more of a support to kind of make these Pokemon stronger, and that's really what it is. You want to come up with your Dynamax options and then build Pokemon around it that will make them stand out. So another example is the team that I used in the first international challenge, which I have a video covering in depth, is this particular team. So I have my main Dynamax options being Lapras G-Max and Lugia. Lapras G-Max obviously to set my screens. It's also just very good into Kyogre, which I did mention was very, very popular right now with a 50% usage rate. So this is a great candidate for a Dynamax option. And then Lugia as well, because I am running weakness policy with multi-scale. I'm not going to take a huge hit and then get my weakness policy off. Very good option as a Dynamax candidate. So if you look at the rest of the team, for example, we have Incineroar, which is just a great supporter Pokemon in general, can do some offensive damage. Obviously, you don't just want, things like Raichu that aren't going to do huge damage. You do want some other Pokemon that can dish out some damage, like Rillaboom and things of that nature. But the Pokemon around it really hold it up, like Raichu protecting Lapras from any sort of electric type attacks and things of that nature. Incineroar coming in to weaken things like Zacian that would be very strong into Lapras, things like that. Raichu also covering for electric attacks into Lugia. So there's just a lot of protecting the other Pokemon with the additional slots that I have added to this particular team. So when it comes to team building, you can really just break it down by what do I want to Dynamax, what's going to be my main heavy hitter, and how am I going to play around that particular option. So for example, let's say we are looking at, I don't know, a Kyogre team, right? Kyogre is going to be our first restricted Pokemon that we're going to feature here on this particular team. Things like, I'm just going to throw random moves on it that are pretty common. Thunder, Ice Beam, and Protect, right? Or maybe you're running Assault Vest and you're running Origin Pulse, whatever it may be, right? You got your first restricted Pokemon, you need stuff that are going to build this up. Well, if you look at the speed stat on Kyogre, it's not super high. Obviously, you can, throw some speed into it. A lot of people are pretty much running 252, 252, and like 4 and like defense or something, just to boost this Pokemon up. But it's not a particularly fast Pokemon in general. So what you're seeing a lot of the time is pairing it with other Pokemon that will boost its speed. So, there's Tornadus, excuse me. I always get those two mixed up. Tornadus is an option with Prankster and Tailwind access. Another viable option would be something like Whimsicott, which also has access to Prankster and Tailwind. So you're going to get a Tailwind off first turn, and you're able to, boost Kyogre's speed significantly and get your Water Spouts off and Origin Pulses and things of that nature. So these two Pokemon work extremely well with Kyogre. Now, let's just say we want to use Whimsicott here. Let's throw some other moves on it, like Encore is really good right now because big counters to things that want speed, like Tailwind, are Trick Room setters, right? So what you'll do is you'll use Whimsicott. We want Moonblast as well. And I don't even know what else you want to use. Maybe Taunt or Helping Hand, something of that nature. You can pick and choose, whatever. But anyways, a lot of times you're going to see Trick Room. So Encore is really good because they have to repeat the last move that they use. So you can set up Trick Room on you, but then you just protect with Kyogre if you're running that set or whatever, or switch, and you use Encore again and it resets the Trick Room, so that way it goes back to normal speed. And that's really, really good for this particular Pokemon. Obviously, with weaker Pokemon like this, you're going to be running Focus Sash and stuff like that on it. But yeah, so really strong start here for this particular team and what we like to use it for. Now, in terms of team building, I highly recommend that you visit Pikalytics. It's just a very useful website. It will show you EV spreads. It'll show you the most popular moves for a Pokemon. It'll show you Pokemon that they pair very well with, for like Kyogre. If we click it, see Tornadus is right there. Whimsicott actually isn't listed, but it's still a very good pairing. But you can see the Pokemon that it works super well with. Now, another nice thing with Pikalytics is because you can see the usage stats on certain Pokemon, you're able to kind of go, okay, what do I need to be aware of? What do I need to prep for in battles? So with this particular setup, we have Kyogre, we have Whimsicott. These Pokemon are very good on their own, but 60% usage rate for Zacian Crowned means that we likely want some form of Intimidator, and right now the best one would be something like Incineroar. Throw an Intimidate on there. I'm just going to copy and paste it from another team. Let's see. But Incineroar is very good because you get access to things like Parting Shot, Fake Out, and Intimidate. It just makes it a very good support Pokemon in that regard, where you're like, if the Zacian gets thrown out, you throw out Incineroar, you fake it out next turn, hopefully stall it from attacking anything, maybe get a Parting Shot up off, and then when you Parting Shot, you can rotate it back in and just weaken that Zacian even further, which is super, super nice. Now, what are we worried about as well? Other things that can be problematic could be like Groudon teams. If a Groudon's slower than you, it's going to take away your Drizzle, which is the main feature of a Kyogre. Kyogre sets Rain, which is super nice, and you can also build around that. You got to think, what are these Pokemon doing for me and what Pokemon pair well? So Pokemon that really work well right now for Kyogre, Ludicolo is a fun option. It's not the best option right now, but it does get access to Swift Swim, which is, if Rain Dance is active, this Pokemon speed is doubled. Super fun. It works very well into things like Groudon. other Pokemon that it does work well into. Things like Zacian get hit pretty hard by water type attacks, so having a very fast Ludicolo from the Swift Swim ability can work very, very well in your favor. Throw that on there. So you're looking at really nice coverage here for things such as things like, you know, your Zacians, your Groudons. This covers very well also into Venusaur Groudon. Sorry, I couldn't think of it for a second. Venusaur Groudon is very common right now because, you know, you get the sun and then Venusaur gets very fast as a result. Same effect as Kyogre and Ludicolo, just, you know, different weather terrain, which is why a lot of people, instead of something like a Whimsicott, will run a Tornadus, because you still get your Prankster, not a Fossil. Throw your Focus Sash on there, you get your Tailwind. You can get your Taunt, so that stops any Trick Room setup. You get Protect, and you get Hurricane. But instead of something like Taunt, which you can use to stop any Trick Rooms, you can just throw on Rain Dance. So if something like a Groudon comes into play, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're gonna set, you know, their rain, well, their sun, it's gonna be slower than Kyogre, because whatever the slower Pokemon is going to set the terrain. So you're like, oh my gosh, they're gonna set it. You just use Prankster Rain Dance, and you're gonna set Rain Dance back up. Venusaur is gonna be slow. Ludicolo comes in with an Ice Beam and smacks Venusaur in the face. So you got to think about, you know, what your combos are going to be in order to handle certain Pokemon. Now, we're still worried about things like Calyrex is a big one right now. Calyrex is very, very scary. And your Astral Barrage hitting both Pokemon can be very detrimental. And obviously, if we're running Rain Dance, we don't have anything to stop a Trick Room. So sometimes, even if you don't want to play a Trick Room team, having your own Trick Room can prove to be very, very nice. So if we throw Porygon on there, which is like a very popular Trick Room setter right now, it does also get access to Shadow Ball. So right there alone, we're able to handle Calyrex. We don't get hit by Astral Barrage, so that's very nice because normal type is unaffected by Ghost. You're able to handle that Pokemon. It does also get access to a lot of other very fun abilities that are super good. You know, Landorus is still very popular. Tornadus, Thundurus are all very good. So Ice Beam, super nice into those Pokemon. It covers for a lot of stuff. Covers for Venusaur, covers for Groudon. There's a lot of things that Ice covers for as an offensive option. So having something like a Porygon to be able to not set Trick Room for your team, but reverse a Trick Room, can be very, very nice. And then finally, to round this team out, you know, we need another restricted Pokemon as a double restricted format. If you don't really know what you want to be, you know, your Dynamax option, like with this team, we still have an option. Like, really, you're thinking about Ludicolo being your Dynamax option. It's got Swift Swim, it's very fast, you get it Dynamaxed, and then you hit very hard. But if we wanted another fun Dynamax option for this team, honestly, Solgaleo works very well. Solgaleo works super well because it doesn't have any problem with Incineroars. Like, Incineroar doesn't come in and cause issues for it because it has full metal body, so it doesn't get intimidated. You give it a weakness pal, and things like Yveltal, which are popular right now, things like Incineroar, Flare Blitzing, and stuff like that are going to proc weakness policy, making you that much stronger. And then Zacian just doesn't hit this Pokemon very hard, like at all. Like, Zacian just does not like this Pokemon because we do get access to Earthquake, so you Dynamax this Pokemon, you Max Quake into Zacian, and you just do big damage. And it does also have a pretty good move pool. You have a lot of coverage options with this Pokemon, and that is going to help you out a lot. So this could be our other Dynamax candidate. Now, the big thing when you're planning out your movesets for each Pokemon is you're going to want to focus on what kind of coverage you're going to need based on the team you have. Like, for example, this team doesn't have a lot of coverage for steel types or fire types. Well, I mean, I guess we do have a lot of water, excuse me. We do have plenty of coverage for fire types, but like steel, like Zacian is the big one. Having access to Earthquake on this Pokemon covers for that, aside from just Flare Blitz or something. So you just need to make sure that you're covering all your bases in terms of typing when you're going through your move pools. Now, when you're going through things like your EV spreads, if you're unfamiliar with EVs, it's really just best until you really get it down to kind of just look at the different spreads that are available here on Pikalytics. It'll help you a lot in your team building if you're new to it. It's going to give you a lot of different options and kind of get you familiarized with the process of EV spreads and what's good on what Pokemon and why it's good on that Pokemon. So I highly recommend checking that out. But once you get a bit more familiar with it, you can kind of tweak it here and there to like cover for different options. Now, I picked Solgaleo for this team because I mentioned that we didn't have another Dynamax option, and I want to talk about, you know, maybe we have another Dynamax option. Maybe we already have, you know, say we have, you know, something I don't even know what else would be for this particular team that would be a good Dynamax option. But let's say, just for the sake of conversation, Incineroar was an attacker instead of a support, right? Incineroar and Ludicolo were our Dynamax options. That's what we really wanted to Dynamax because that was what was going to do big work. Hypothetical entirely because Incineroar is not really built for that. But so we don't really need that additional Dynamax option. What is a great candidate for any team that already has 2 Dynamax options is Zacian. This is why this Pokemon's so good. For one, it hits any Dynamax Pokemon double with Behemoth Blade. So it hits them very hard. It's huge damage, and it goes into pretty much every Dynamax Pokemon very, very well. It also has very good coverage options for a lot of the popular Pokemon in the format right now. Between Sacred Sword for things like Incineroar, and then Play Rough for other Pokemon, you know, like Grimmsnarl doesn't like Play Rough. It also doesn't like Behemoth Blade, but, you know, beside the point, Play Rough covers for a lot of different options. This Pokemon is super good because it can't Dynamax. That's the big thing. It handles Dynamax Pokemon very well, and it can't Dynamax itself, so it's not even something to consider Dynamaxing. Like, it's never a thought in your head. So that's why it's so good on teams that have it's so good on teams that have those Dynamax options set. So for example, if we go back to my Lugia team, right, we have 2 very clear Dynamax options, Lugia and Lapras. Now, I don't have any other restricted Pokemon, so I have a slot open for a restricted Pokemon, and Zacian just fits this team. It gives me the additional coverage options that I need. It handles any Dynamax Pokemon that they throw out at me. It's just something that plays so well when you already have stuff that, you know I'm going to Dynamax these Pokemon. I can throw Zacian on this team and it's going to cover for a lot. So it's just something to consider. So I know there was a lot of information in this video, and I kind of just built a whole team with you guys to kind of just talk it through. But ultimately what it comes down to is picking Pokemon you want to use, especially with the Dynamax option being available in this particular format, picking the Pokemon that you know, these are my Dynamax candidates, and then building around them and building Pokemon around them that work in sync with them. For example, like Kyogre and Ludicolo playing into each other, Tornadus playing into the Kyogre being slow, and being able to reset Rain Dance for not only Kyogre to do better water damage, but also for Ludicolo to get that Swift Swim. It just helps you out dramatically. Being aware that you're weak to Trick Room and throwing a Trick Room setter on this team to reset it. Very, very good option. Just having that coverage, having a strategy, picking Pokemon that synergize very well is how you're going to build the best teams. And it's not something that's super easy. It's not something you're going to just pick up and start doing immediately if you're new to it. It's something that takes time. Even I still will build a team and be like, you know, this is not working the way I want. I'll completely scrap it and I'll start fresh. It's just something that is the nature of Pokemon, and it's not something that you should be frustrated by. Just something to note in regards to that. But that is pretty much all I have. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you're going to actually be participating in these particular tournaments, you know, the international challenges and all that stuff. If this video was helpful, make sure you let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, all that fun stuff. I hope it was. If you found it entertaining and helpful, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more Pokemon content from me in the future. But I hope to see you all in the next video.